I was in the aula when the Holy Father made his surprising blockbuster announcement, and I think, as you've heard, and as many have said, there was just a stunned reaction on the part of everyone. My Latin is not that great, and I couldn't hear him that well, but I could tell from those who were close up that something serious was being said, and I got the gist of it pretty quickly. Everyone said it's going to take a day or two at least to begin to come to grips with it, to let it sink in, and to try to anticipate what the future will bring, the near future, the next couple of weeks. And really, my thoughts have been mainly with the Holy Father these days, and I think that's going to be the case until this whole episode is well behind us. It had to be a wrenching decision for him to make. The fact that he is certain he made the right decision, I'm quite sure he is certain of that, still doesn't change the emotions. He's still, I'm sure, anticipating in the next 2 weeks, which are going to be very difficult leading up to his actual resignation. And then the adjustment that will be made to try to separate himself from these wonderful years during which he's led us, and to a whole new surroundings and way of life. In one sense, it will be easier for him, but in another sense, it's going to be a very traumatic transition, I think. So I've been kind of praying and quite taken by it, for his sake mainly, really. But it's God's will, and it's a great church, and the Lord will see us through. I think the reaction on the part of the public in general, part of the press, has been very positive, and I hope people understand the great contribution he's made, and will continue to make over the next 2 weeks and in his life. Certainly, that life will be no less dedicated to the Church and to Christ than it will have been during his years of active ministry as Pope. I think he'll be invisible. I think he will lead the life of a monk of prayer and study, and certainly some writing. I hope we hear some more from him in his writings, which probably we won't see very much until the future. But I think that's going to be his main task. I don't think he's going to receive many people. I think he's going to respect his successor. And the decision he's made is to step out of the limelight, and I think that's what's going to happen. I hope that we make the best use of these days and of the months ahead, as we come to realize what led up to this and what it means for the Church, and to have and to develop a greater appreciation for the gift that the papacy has been to the Church, and the gift the papacy is in these days. And he mentioned that in his statement. There are so many changes and so many events taking place so quickly. The Church remains, and the rock is firm. Peter and his successors will always be a reference point for a confused culture, confused cultures really. And I think that's a great gift, which maybe we take for granted. And I hope these are teaching moments for us of all ages, of all callings, of all levels of commitment to the Church. Our faith can and should be deepened as a result of our reflection these days and our discussions and our observations as things do take place. I think these next 2 weeks will really be impressive for us. I think the Holy Father will say some marvelous things and make some gestures that will be very significant, as will the College of Cardinals and the general Catholic faithful in showing their appreciation to the Holy Father. So I think these days will be very rich, and we should plumb them and get the most we can out of them for our own spiritual benefit and for our own enrichment of faith. I think it's a good development. No one should feel compelled, as the Holy Father has said it any number of times, to stay in the office if he does not have the wherewithal to deal with the responsibilities. And up to now, I think maybe that has not been so certain in the lives of some. Blessed John the 23rd, John Paul rather, made the most of his illness, and that was a great gift, the way he lasted to the end in his office. And here's another gift, and this development will offer options that maybe were not too obvious before this courageous decision of Pope Benedict. The faith is fading in some traditionally Catholic areas, and I would hope that we'll find an enlivening of that faith as a result of what we're going through now, and as a result of what might take place in the early years of the new papacy. The persecution of the Church as never before in its magnitude, and even in the United States, the limits that are being imposed on the Church by government. This is happening in various ways through Western culture. I think Western Europe is facing some of the same issues of kind of a bland persecution, but a very real one, in trying to put the Church aside and keep her out of the way and marginalize her and her teachings. And I think we have strong grassroots, and we have a lot to respond with in those circumstances. Well, I just think that the new Holy Father should have a broad appreciation of the Catholic world and the different cultures that make it up, and be able to foster the spirituality of those different cultures. But I think we've been blessed with such wonderful popes for the last 100 years, and I think whoever comes in, if he could combine all those qualities that we've had the pleasure of seeing in our past popes, I think that would be a wonderful development.